This video lesson is going to address the third grade standard numbers in base 10. And specifically, we are going to be using estimation strategies to assess reasonableness of answers. And I'm going to talk about several ways to estimate sums and differences. One of the ways we can estimate is we can round to the nearest 10 or 100 to estimate using number lines. So I'm going to go ahead and write this problem vertically so that I can make my number line for both of these numbers. I have 206. Now I'm going to round it to the nearest tens place. So this 0 is in the tens and this 2 is in the tens. So this stands for 0 tens and this would stand for 20. So I have to think between what two numbers is 206. What tens? Well, it's between, there's nothing here, so that would be 200 and 210. In between 200 and 210 is 205. So I look at this 206 and I say to myself, is 206 greater than or less than 205? And it's about here, so this one would round to 210. For the 128, again I'm rounding to the tens place, so I look at this tens place and I'm going to round between 120 and 130. So there's a difference of 10 between them because I'm rounding to the tens. And in between 120 and 130 is 125. I look at the 128 and I think, is 128 greater than or less than 125? Well, it's about here, so it's greater than. That would round to 130. So 210 plus 130 equals, well, I can make a place value chart if I need to. 210, so I'm going to do hundreds and tens and ones. 210, 210 plus 130, 1, 2, 3, 100, 1, 2, 3, 4 tens, rounded to the tens, that would be 340. So that's rounding that to the tens. But I might want to round it to the hundreds place instead, and that's called front-end estimation, when we're rounding to this place, the biggest digit. So again, I'm going to use number lines, and I'm going to round these to the hundreds place. So I have 206. If I round down, it would go to 200. If I round up, it would go 100 more, which is 300. In the middle is 250. 206 is a little bit more than 200. So this would round to 200. 128, if I round down, would be 100. If I round up, would be 200. In the middle is 150. I look at the 128 and I say, is it less than 150 or greater than 150? Well, it's less than 150, and it would be somewhere around here. So I would round this one down to 100. So then my two numbers that I'm adding, 200 plus 100 equals 300. That's front-end estimation. And this is rounding to the tens place. Now, which one do you think would give a more accurate estimate? Well, if I think about it, 300 I'm just rounding to hundreds places here. I'm being a little more accurate here because I'm rounding to a smaller place value. I'm rounding to the tens. So let's find the actual answer and see which one of those was closest. So I have 206 plus 128. I can use two different ways to add this up. If I wanted to, which I do, I'm going to use expanded form to write both of these numbers out in expanded form. 100, the 2 is 20, the 1 is 8. Then what I would do is I would add each of these place values. The 6 and 8 is 14, 20 and 0 is 20, 100 and 200 is 300, so I have 300 plus 20 plus 14. I could further break it apart and say 300 plus 20 plus 10 plus 4. Now I have 300, 20 plus 10 is 30, plus 4, which would be 334. That's one way to add. I broke it apart using expanded form. Another way is using a place value chart, which I have to admit I do like. 206, 128. So 206, 200, nothing in the tens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 128, 120, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I have to combine these numbers. So let's see, I have 8, 9, 10. So let me bundle these to make a 10, and I'll bring it over to these tens. So I've used those up. So I have 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's still 334. So let me go back and look to see which one of these estimates was closest to 334. We had 300 and 340. The 340 was only 6 away from the real answer, and the 300 was 34 away. So it's actually more accurate, closer to the real number, to estimate to the tens place. Okay, so we're going to do a word problem that will involve estimating, and we'll always use our cubes. So I'm going to put my cubes. Now, as you get used to using your cubes, you might see that you are not always doing them in the exact order here. What I mean by that is, as I read this, I see numbers that are important. I see important terms. I might, at the same time as I'm circling the numbers, I might box those terms. So it says Mrs. Mab bought a TV for $479 and a DVD player for $119. How much did she spend on these items? Solve the problem, then estimate to check for reasonableness. So Mrs. Mab bought a TV for $479 and a DVD player, box set, for $119. How much did she spend on these items. Solve the problem, then estimate to check for reasonableness. So if I'm spending, if I bought, that means I'm adding up. So I have 479 plus 119. Okay, so I'm going to use my place value chart to add these two numbers. I have 479, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I like to keep these in fives, it's easier to add them. And then 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's my 479. Then I have 119. So I'm going to put my 100, 110, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so now I'm adding them. So that means I have to go to each of these place values, each of the columns, and I can't have more than 9 in the ones place. So I have 9. I'm going to take one of these to make it 10. I'm bundling it and bringing that 10 over there. And I'll put an X so I know I used it. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so that's good. So now I'll count my ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 in the ones place. Oops, forgot to label it. Tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hundredths. So that means I spent $598. I'm going to show you also how to do this expanded form way. So I'm going to do my 400, the 4 stands for 400, plus 70, plus 9. So I'm going to keep my place values together. 100, plus 10, plus 9. So my 9 and 9 is 18. 70 and 10 is 80. 400 and 100 is 500. So now I'm going to break it down further. I'll bring my 500 plus my 80 plus my 10 plus my 8. So this 80 and 10, that's what's going to be in the tens place. My 500, 80 and 10 is 90, so I put a 9 and 8. Okay, my answer statement, let me go ahead and write that before I estimate. She spent, and I do go up here to check how much did she spend on these items, because my answer statement should answer that question. She spent $598. That's my answer statement. So now let's estimate to see if this answer makes sense, to check for reasonableness. Okay, so my numbers were 479 and 119. So I'm going to round to the tens place. I'm going to round to the tens place. And I'm going to do that because it will give me a more accurate estimation. Okay, so when I'm rounding to the tens place, I have 479. So this 7 is in the tens place, so if I rounded down, it would be 470. If I round up, it would be 480. 479, the 79 is in between 70 and 80. right in the middle of those two numbers is 475. 479, I think to myself, is it less than or greater than 475? Well, it's right about here, so this would round to 480. 119, again I'm rounding to the tens, so my rounded, if I round down, would be 110. Okay, I'm thinking of this 19, it's between 10 and 20, so 110, 120, and in between that is 115. 119 would be about there, so this rounds up to 120. So I'm going to add up 480 plus 120. I'll use expanded form to write 400 plus 80, 100 plus 20. If you just look at the front numbers, if you think of your 8 and 2, that's 10, so this is 100. 400 and 100 is 500. Now you have 500 plus 100 equals 600. That's the estimate. Let's try it using adding up the estimates with the place value chart. I like to give a couple options. So again, we have 480 and 120. 480, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 120, 100, 20. Neither has anything in the ones because we rounded to the tens place. That's when you round to the tens, you shouldn't have anything in your ones. So now I count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I bundle those tens and make another 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. $600. Oops. Low tech. Okay, so both of those give us the estimate $600, which is just 2 away from 598. So this answer is reasonable. That's the whole reason that you use estimation, is to check your answers to see if they're reasonable, if they make sense. So in this lesson, we estimated using tens place and hundreds, using number lines. We added using expanded form and the place value chart, and we solved a word problem using our cubes.